Insight and intuition are among the quietest forces in the human mind, yet they guide much of what we understand, choose, and create. They shape the way we move through the world, often without announcing themselves. They work in the background, forming connections, sensing patterns, and pointing us toward decisions long before we articulate them. As you settle into a comfortable state of relaxation, this story invites you to explore these subtle processes with a calm, clear mind. Not to drift away into sleep, but to unwind into a softer, steadier awareness. Imagine sitting at the edge of your day, letting the noise fade, allowing your breath to settle into a natural rhythm. The body grows a little heavier, the mind a little more spacious. You do not need to focus intensely. You do not need to analyze or evaluate. You are simply here, listening, breathing, absorbing the gentle movement of ideas as they unfold. The story you are entering is grounded in science, but delivered with the quiet clarity of reflection. It looks at intuition not as something mystical, but as something deeply human, shaped by evolution, experience, and the architecture of the brain. Insight is not presented as lightning from nowhere, but as the culmination of hidden processes that have been working patiently beneath awareness. This approach brings together the careful research of neuroscience and psychology with the calm perspective of philosophy, giving you a space to understand and relax at the same time. Intuition began long before humans kept records or spoke complex languages. Early human beings relied on subtle patterns, sensations, and reactions to survive. They noticed the direction of the wind, the shift in an animal's posture, the tone of another person's voice, the feeling that something was safe or unsafe. These signals were not mysterious. They were the inheritance of a nervous system shaped over millions of years. As you listen, you may feel a sense of calm recognition. Your intuition has been with you all your life and with your ancestors long before. Insight, too, is a natural part of this lineage. It emerges when the mind organizes information beneath awareness and suddenly reveals a connection. Sometimes this happens while walking, sometimes during quiet reflection, sometimes when the body and mind have finally relaxed after a long day. This script is meant to mirror the way insight arises. Gently, gradually, in a space free from pressure, where understanding can unfold at its own pace. As you breathe, notice how the body settles a little further. The shoulders drop, the face softens. The mind opens just enough to let ideas pass through without resistance. You are not trying to reach any particular mental state. Relaxation is simply the background, a supportive place where curiosity can move without effort. In the next hours, we will explore the roots of intuition in human evolution. We will look at the subconscious mind, where patterns are formed and stored. We will understand the physiology behind gut feelings, the body's internal signals, and the quiet intelligence woven through memory. We will explore the science of sudden insight, creativity, dreaming, empathy, and decision-making. There will be no rush, no urgency. Each section dissolves calmly into the next, giving you time to absorb, reflect, and unwind. You are not being pulled into dreams or stories of distant worlds. Instead, you are being guided inward toward the quiet processes that already exist within you. The landscape you will explore is the landscape of your own mind, shaped by biology, experience, and the long history of human adaptation. This exploration offers a grounded understanding, one that steadies the breath and relaxes the body while awakening a sense of calm curiosity. There is something deeply comforting about realizing that intuition is not guesswork. It is the result of countless interactions between sensory input, emotional memory, and learned experience. It is the sum of knowledge you have gathered, processed, and stored in ways you may never consciously notice. Insight works the same way, rising like a clear voice from beneath a surface that usually stays quiet. Recognizing this can bring a sense of stability and confidence, especially when the world around you feels complex. As you listen, let your attention soften. Allow the story to move gently at the pace of a steady breath. There is nothing you need to hold on to. The ideas will return naturally because they come from patterns that already exist inside you. This script is simply a calm companion, guiding you through understanding that belongs to you as much as to anyone. When you are ready, you may settle even deeper into this relaxed awareness. The next section begins with the earliest chapter of human intuition, a time when survival depended on silent knowledge and when the first sparks of insight appeared in simple but powerful forms. The journey into the science of intuition and insight now begins. The ancient instinct. Long before written language, long before cities formed, long before tools were shaped with intention, early humans lived in a world where survival depended on awareness. Not the deliberate, conscious awareness that uses language and reasoning, but a deeper, more immediate form of understanding. A kind of knowing that rose from the senses, from memory, and from the body's quiet reactions to the environment. This was intuition in its earliest form, an ancient instinct that guided every step through forests, grasslands, and open plains. Imagine the world as it once was, a landscape stretching far beyond the visible horizon, vast skies shifting from pale dawn to glowing sunset, the sound of wind moving through tall grasses, the distant calls of animals, the steady rhythm of footsteps on earth. Life was not rushed. It was present, moment to moment, deeply connected to the environment in a way that modern life rarely requires. In such a world, intuition was not optional. It was a foundation of life. Early humans needed to sense subtle changes in weather long before storms appeared. They needed to recognize the faintest rustle in the brush that signaled danger. They needed to notice the heaviness in the air before nightfall, or feel the shift in a companion's posture that indicated fear, tension, or readiness. These signals were processed not through language, but through the nervous system's delicate ability to compare present sensations with past experience. Every sight, sound, and scent carried information. When a twig snapped, it was not just a noise. It held clues about the size, distance, and speed of whatever caused it. When the wind shifted, it carried new scents that hinted at predators, prey, or fresh water. Early humans learned to interpret these cues instinctively, without needing to break them down into conscious thoughts. Their bodies reacted first, their minds followed. This instinctive way of understanding was shaped by millions of years of evolution. The brain systems responsible for instinct and intuition developed long before the regions responsible for complex reasoning. Deep beneath the surface of conscious thought, the amygdala, hippocampus, and other ancient structures acted as early warning networks, scanning the environment, storing memories, and producing quick evaluations. Safe or unsafe, approach or avoid, stay or move. These signals still exist within us. When you feel your breath tighten in a moment of uncertainty, or when you notice a subtle shift in someone's tone that tells you more than their words do, you are tapping into the same ancient systems. The instinct that once guided early humans continues to guide you, even in modern environments filled with different kinds of challenges. Picture an early human walking quietly along a narrow animal trail. The air is cool, filled with the smell of earth and distant rain. The path ahead curves gently, disappearing behind tall grasses. There are no words in their mind, no internal narration describing what they see. Instead, there is a constant stream of sensation, the warmth of sunlight on the skin, the sound of a bird changing its call, the soft pressure of the ground under their feet. Each detail is absorbed without effort. Suddenly, the bird calls stop. The world becomes momentarily still. The human pauses. Something is different. The body senses it before the mind understands it. Muscles tighten slightly. Breath becomes shallow. The heart beats faster. The mind does not need to articulate a warning. The instinct is already speaking. Within moments, the human shifts direction, moving quietly away from the path, trusting a feeling that arises from years of learned experience and generations of inherited survival knowledge. This kind of intuition is rooted in pattern recognition. When the brain encounters familiar patterns, even ones that are too subtle for conscious awareness, it reacts. The reaction might feel like a pull in the stomach, a tension in the chest, or a quiet certainty that something is right or wrong. Early humans lived in constant dialogue with these signals. Modern humans feel them too, though we often overlook them beneath the noise of daily life. For early humans, pattern recognition extended beyond the environment into social connection. A tribe's survival depended not only on understanding nature, but also on understanding one another. Humans are deeply social animals, and long before language evolved into its complex forms, people communicated through body posture, facial expression, and vocal tone. These cues were rich with information. A slight change in another person's breathing rhythm could indicate fear. A subtle relaxation in their shoulders could signal safety. This social intuition helped early humans cooperate during hunts, share responsibilities, and raise children together. It helped them sense tension within the group, resolve conflict, and maintain harmony. These abilities were not taught through instruction. They were learned through observation, imitation, and experience. The mind built frameworks of understanding based on countless interactions, storing memories that later shaped intuitive responses. Even in the absence of language, early humans developed deep bonds through shared attention and intuitive understanding. A glance could communicate urgency. A quiet movement of a hand could direct others toward food or shelter. When emotions rose within the group, whether joy or sorrow, individuals mirrored each other naturally, forming emotional synchrony that strengthened connection. These ancient patterns remain within the human nervous system today. When you sense someone's mood before they speak, when you feel tension rise in a room without knowing why, you are engaging with the same intuitive processes that supported early human communities. The roots of empathy are found here, in the ability to recognize emotional patterns through subtle cues. Intuition also shaped creativity. Even in early times, humans experimented with tools, fire, and shelter. They learned through trial and error, guided by an intuitive sense of what might work. When early humans chipped stone to create sharp edges, they were guided by the memory of past successes and failures, stored deeply within their motor and sensory systems. Over time, they recognized patterns in how stone fractured, which allowed them to refine their techniques. This pattern recognition eventually led to remarkable advancements. Fire became a tool for warmth, protection, and cooking. Simple shelters evolved into more stable structures. Early humans learned to track animals by reading subtle signs in the landscape. These insights did not come as sudden leaps of genius. They emerged gradually through lived experience and the quiet work of the subconscious mind. Inside every modern person, this ancient instinct persists. Though the surroundings have changed dramatically, the brain's fundamental architecture is still shaped by the needs of early humans. When you walk into a new environment and immediately sense whether it feels welcoming or uncomfortable, you are engaging with the same intuitive systems that once protected your ancestors. When you feel drawn to a particular path in life without being able to articulate why, your intuition's drawing from patterns that have been forming throughout your experiences. Understanding this ancient instinct brings comfort. It reveals that intuition is not a mysterious force. It is a reliable part of the human design, built from countless generations of adaptation. It is the silent wisdom carried in every person, providing subtle guidance even in a modern world filled with complexities that early humans could not have imagined. As you let this understanding settle, the breath becomes a little deeper. The mind rests a bit more easily. Relaxation does not disconnect you from these insights. Instead, it allows them to surface gently. The nervous system becomes more receptive. The thoughts become quieter, making room for awareness that feels steady and grounded. The ancient instinct, with its quiet signals and deep memory, is the first chapter in the long story of intuition. It reminds you that the mind is built on layers, each one shaped by time. Beneath conscious thought lies a foundation of instinctive intelligence that still works tirelessly on your behalf. When you are ready, you can drift calmly into the next layer of this unfolding exploration. From instinct, we move into the world of the subconscious mind, where patterns are formed, stored, and woven into the quiet fabric of intuition. The subconscious mind. Beneath the surface of your awareness, a world of quiet activity unfolds every moment of your life. You do not feel it directly. You do not watch it work. Yet, it shapes nearly everything you understand and choose. This is the realm of the subconscious mind, the vast inner system that processes information silently, quickly, and with remarkable precision. To explore it is to step into the deeper architecture of intuition, into the networks where patterns are formed long before they reach conscious thought. Relax a little as you listen. Let your breathing steady into a calm rhythm. This section does not require effort. It simply invites you to observe the mind with gentle curiosity, the way you would watch a calm landscape without needing to change anything. The subconscious is not a mysterious or separate part of you. It is you. It is the full machinery of the brain working behind the scenes, filtering experiences, storing memories, identifying patterns, guiding reactions, and helping you make sense of the world. If conscious thought is like the small beam of a flashlight, narrow and focused, the subconscious is the entire surrounding environment, wide and full of detail that the light will never fully illuminate. In everyday life, your senses gather far more information than you can consciously process. Light enters the eyes, carrying shapes, colors, movement. Sound waves reach the ears, layered with tone, rhythm, and meaning. The skin registers pressure, temperature, texture. The body measures balance, internal sensations, and emotional signals. All of this happens continuously, yet only a tiny fraction reaches conscious awareness. The rest flows into the subconscious, where it is organized, compared, and integrated with previous experiences. The brain accomplishes this through networks of neurons that operate in patterns. Neurons communicate with one another by sending electric and chemical signals across synapses, forming pathways that strengthen with repetition. The subconscious mind is built from billions of these interactions happening every second. It is a system designed to learn, to adapt, to refine itself through constant exposure to the world. Think of walking through a familiar environment. You do not consciously calculate the distance between each step or analyze the meaning of every sound you hear. You do not describe the colors around you or note how your muscles adjust to maintain balance. All of this happens automatically. The subconscious handles it smoothly, freeing your conscious mind to focus on what matters most in the moment. This automatic function is not just efficient, it is essential. Without the subconscious mind, daily life would be overwhelming. Every small decision would become a demanding task. Every movement would require deliberate planning. Instead, the subconscious takes these responsibilities quietly, allowing the conscious mind to reflect, imagine, create, and plan. But the subconscious does more than automate behavior. It forms the foundation of intuition. When the brain encounters patterns repeatedly, they become familiar. If something resembles those patterns, even in ways too subtle for conscious recognition, the subconscious sends signals that register as feelings. A sense of comfort, a hint of caution, a quiet pull toward a choice. These sensations often arise before a conscious explanation appears. For example, you might meet someone for the first time and feel immediately at ease, though you cannot pinpoint why. Or you might sense tension in a room without hearing a word spoken. These reactions emerge from thousands of stored memories, each containing traces of facial expressions, tones of voice, and emotional contexts. The subconscious compares new input with these memories in an instant, generating a feeling that the conscious mind experiences as intuition. This process is not guesswork. It is pattern recognition at a depth and speed far beyond conscious analysis. The brain evolved to detect subtle cues long before language existed. Your subconscious still uses the same structures to evaluate situations quickly and accurately. Memories play a central role in this system. They do not exist as isolated images stored in perfect form. Instead, they are distributed across networks of neurons, blending emotion, context, and sensory detail. When you remember something, the brain reactivates the pattern associated with it. The subconscious revisits these patterns constantly, strengthening them through repetition and integrating them with new experiences. This means that intuition is shaped by what you have learned, what you have lived, and what you have felt. It carries the history of your experiences into the present moment, offering guidance that feels immediate, even though it is built on years of accumulation. When something feels familiar, the subconscious has recognized a pattern before conscious thought has time to interpret it. The subconscious also works during moments of rest. When you pause, when your mind wanders, when you sit quietly without a specific task, the brain enters a mode known as the default network. In this state, it reviews memories, imagines possibilities, and makes connections between ideas. Insights often begin forming here, beneath awareness, long before they surface. Because the subconscious processes information in parallel, not in a strict linear sequence, it can combine ideas that seem unrelated at first glance. A memory from childhood might blend with a recent experience, creating a new understanding. A detail overlooked during the day might connect with a question you have been considering, forming the beginning of an insight. The subconscious does not force these connections. It simply allows them to form naturally as the mind settles and reorganizes itself. When people describe having a gut feeling, they are often experiencing the first signals of subconscious integration. The body reacts to patterns the mind has recognized. Muscles tense or relax. The breath changes rhythm. The heart rate shifts. These physiological responses are not random. They are part of the body's communication with the brain, offering signals about safety, comfort, or relevance. The subconscious is also deeply emotional. Emotions are not separate from thinking. They guide memory, attention, and decision-making. An experience that carries strong emotion is more likely to be stored deeply and more likely to influence intuition. This is why some instincts feel powerful, even when you cannot explain them. The subconscious has tied the pattern to a significant emotional memory. It is important to understand that subconscious processing is not always accurate. The brain uses shortcuts, called heuristics, to interpret information quickly. These shortcuts are useful, but they can lead to biases or mistaken assumptions. Recognizing this helps you understand intuition more clearly. It is not perfect, but it is powerful. It is a guide shaped by experience, refined with awareness, and strengthened by reflection. Despite its complexities, the subconscious mind is not something you must control or manage. It does its work naturally. What you can do is create conditions that help it function well. Calm environments, moments of quiet, opportunities for the mind to rest and process. When the nervous system is relaxed, the subconscious becomes more integrated with conscious awareness. Patterns rise more clearly. Insight flows more easily. As you relax now, the subconscious is active. It listens to the rhythm of your breath. It absorbs the meaning of the words. It stores impressions and subtle emotional tones. You are not thinking about these processes, but they unfold within you effortlessly. This is the beauty of the subconscious. It supports you continuously, even in stillness. The subconscious mind is the second layer in the story of intuition. It explains why some knowledge feels immediate and why some decisions feel naturally aligned. It reveals that intuition is not a sudden spark from nowhere, but the product of intricate processes that run quietly beneath conscious thought. As you let these ideas settle, the mind becomes a bit clearer. The body grows more at ease. You may notice a sense of quiet confidence, knowing that much of your understanding comes from deeper layers of the mind, working faithfully on your behalf. When you are ready, we will move gently from the subconscious mind into the world of the body's intuitive signals, exploring the physiology of the gut feeling and the rich emotional intelligence woven into every moment of your experience. The gut feeling. Deep within the body, beneath thought and beneath conscious awareness, there is a constant stream of information rising from within. It comes not from imagination, nor from quick judgment, but from the intricate systems that monitor the state of your organs, your breathing, your heartbeat, and your internal balance. This quiet flow shapes what people often call a gut feeling, a sense that something is right or wrong, safe or unsafe, familiar or uncertain. It is one of the most ancient and reliable forms of intuition, and it begins in a place far older than conscious thought. Take a moment to settle a little deeper into relaxation, not to lose awareness, but to soften it. Let your shoulders rest. Let the breath fall into a gentler pattern. There is no rush. This exploration unfolds at the pace of the body itself, slow, steady, grounded. The gut feeling is not a metaphor. It is a physical reality rooted in the enteric nervous system, a network of neurons woven through the digestive organs. This system contains hundreds of millions of nerve cells, enough to function almost like a small brain of its own. It communicates with the central nervous system through pathways that carry signals upward from body to mind, far more often than from mind to body. When you sense something intuitively, the message often begins here. The gut reacts before conscious thought arrives. Muscles tighten or relax. The stomach feels heavy or light. Warmth rises in the chest, or tension spreads across the abdomen. These sensations are not guesses or exaggerations. They are interpretations of subtle physiological shifts produced by internal systems that track your environment with precision, shaped by evolution. Every emotion leaves a trace in the body. Joy softens the breath. Anger tightens the jaw. Fear accelerates the pulse. Sadness weighs on the muscles. These changes are recorded by the same systems that generate gut feelings. When the body recognizes patterns that resemble past emotional states, even in faint ways, it signals the mind. The signal arrives as a feeling, not as a sentence or argument, because the body does not speak in language. It speaks in sensation. Imagine meeting someone new. Before you analyze their posture or their tone, your body evaluates them. The heart rate adjusts slightly. The breath shifts. Muscles along the abdomen may relax or contract. These reactions are shaped by past experiences stored in the nervous system. If a person's expressions or movements resemble those associated with trust in your memories, the body responds with ease. If they resemble moments of conflict or discomfort, the gut may tighten. This process is constant, even when you are unaware of it. The body listens to patterns in the world the same way it listens to the regularity of your heartbeat. It measures tone, rhythm, pace, temperature, and subtle cues in others. It compares each of these sensations to stored memories, not just emotional memories, but sensory ones too. The sound of someone's footsteps, the slight shift in their breathing, the energy they bring into a room. All of these details are woven into the body's assessment. The gut feeling is also influenced by interoception, the system that monitors the internal state of the body. Interoception tracks hunger, thirst, warmth, tension, and countless other signals. It shapes your sense of self, your understanding of what is happening inside you, and your reactions to the outside world. When interoception is strong and clear, intuition tends to feel more accurate and grounded. When it is disrupted by stress or fatigue, intuition can feel clouded or unreliable. Stress has a powerful effect on this system. When the body senses danger, real or imagined, it activates the sympathetic nervous system. Heart rate increases, breathing speeds up, digestion slows, muscles tense. These changes are designed to protect you, but they also influence intuition. In moments of tension, the body may interpret neutral situations as threatening because its internal state is already heightened. This is why intuition feels sharper when the body is calm. The signals are clearer. The patterns are more accurate. Relaxation brings clarity, not because it slows the mind, but because it allows the body's natural intelligence to express itself without interference from stress responses. When the breath is steady and the muscles are soft, the gut's signals become easier to interpret. A sense of calm allows the nervous system to communicate in a cleaner way, like reducing static on a radio so the music can be heard clearly. The gut feeling also relates to memory stored in the emotional centers of the brain. The amygdala, responsible for quick emotional reactions, works closely with the hippocampus, which organizes memory. Together, they form associations that shape intuition. If you once felt safe in a particular environment, your body may relax in similar places later. If you once felt threatened, the body may respond with caution, even before conscious thought appears. This process can be beneficial, guiding decisions that protect and support you. It can also be shaped over time. When you revisit environments or experiences with new understanding, the body updates its associations. This is how people learn to overcome fears or reshape emotional patterns. The gut feeling evolves with experience, becoming more refined as you expose yourself to new situations with curiosity rather than avoidance. Even in modern life, where danger is less immediate than it was for early humans, the gut feeling remains essential. It influences decisions at work, in relationships, in creativity, and in personal growth. It alerts you when something feels misaligned or incomplete. It encourages you when something resonates deeply. It helps you navigate complex situations that do not have clear logical answers. Consider moments when you have felt drawn toward an opportunity without knowing why. Something felt right. Something aligned with your internal values. Often, this sense emerges before you can articulate the reasons. The body recognizes the pattern and sends a signal. Later, the conscious mind forms explanations. This sequence reveals how intuition and reasoning work together, not as opposing forces, but as complementary systems. The gut feeling is subtle, but it becomes stronger when you learn to listen to it with patience rather than immediate judgment. When you pause before reacting, when you give yourself a moment to feel the internal response, you create space for intuition to emerge. This practice does not require stillness or silence, though those can help. It simply requires attention to the body's cues, no matter how quiet they seem. Trusting intuition does not mean ignoring logic. It means recognizing that both systems have value. The gut provides quick, experience-based impressions. The mind provides analysis, language, and structure. When the two work together, decisions become more balanced. When one is ignored, choices can feel incomplete or disconnected. As you rest here, you may notice subtle sensations in your own body. Perhaps a warmth in the chest, a loosening in the stomach, or a gentle ease spreading through the limbs. These sensations are not random. They are part of the body's communication, a dialogue that continues every moment of your life. By tuning into this quiet conversation, you strengthen the bridge between intuition and awareness. The gut feeling is the heart of embodied intuition. It anchors your understanding in physical reality, reminding you that the mind is not separate from the body. It is supported by it and shaped by it. When you approach intuition from this perspective, it becomes less mysterious and more trustworthy, a natural part of human intelligence that evolves with each experience. As we move forward, the journey shifts from the body's quiet signals to the moments when the mind suddenly illuminates a problem or reveals a new idea. These moments of sudden insight are rooted in the same subconscious processes, but they emerge in a different form. They arrive not as sensations, but as clarity, as understanding, as a sudden connection that feels both surprising and inevitable. When you are ready, we will explore the nature of sudden insight, the aha moment, and the brain's remarkable ability to uncover solutions in the quiet spaces between thought. Sudden insight. There are moments in life when understanding arrives all at once, not slowly, not through careful analysis, but in a single, clear instant. A moment when the mind seems to light up from within, revealing a connection that was hidden just a second before. This is the experience we call sudden insight, the quiet yet powerful moment often described as an aha. It is one of the most fascinating expressions of human intuition, and it emerges from the collaboration of many systems working beneath awareness. Settle into a calm posture as you listen. Insights do not come from force or tension. They arise naturally, often in moments of ease. The mind, when relaxed, opens its pathways more freely. Ideas move without obstruction. Connections form gently. The very state you are in now mirrors the conditions that allow insight to appear in everyday life. To understand sudden insight, it helps to imagine the mind as a landscape filled with pathways. Some of these pathways are well traveled, formed by habits and familiar thoughts. Others are faint, quiet, forming new possibilities. When you think consciously, you walk along the familiar paths, often retracing steps, examining details methodically. This is logical, deliberate reasoning. It is slow and consistent, and it has its own strength. Insight, however, comes from the quieter routes, the ones your conscious mind does not see. These hidden pathways connect ideas across distance, forming bridges that logic alone cannot build. While you focus on a problem or question, your subconscious continues to work in the background, examining patterns, comparing possibilities, and testing connections. When the right connection is formed, and when the mind is open enough to receive it, insight emerges. This is why insights often appear in moments when you are not trying, while walking, while taking a shower, while lying quietly after a long day. The brain shifts into a relaxed mode, and the subconscious steps forward, delivering what it has been constructing beneath the surface. Neuroscience shows that sudden insight involves a burst of synchronized activity in the brain, especially in the right temporal region associated with integrative processing. But long before this burst happens, the brain has already been preparing. It gathers information, evaluates possibilities, and reorganizes memories. Insight is the final moment of a long internal process, not the beginning of one. Imagine someone working to solve a problem. They analyze it. They think through the obvious possibilities. They reason through each step, but nothing resolves. The mind grows tired. They step away. They go outside. They look at the sky. They breathe. A bird moves through the air with steady wings, and the person's mind settles. The tension fades. Without warning, clarity arrives. The solution appears as if from nowhere. Yet it is not from nowhere. It is from the subconscious, which has quietly assembled the answer. The relaxation created space for the insight to surface. The mind, now open, receives it without resistance. This pattern has been observed across cultures and throughout history. Ancient mathematicians described solutions appearing in moments of quiet. Philosophers spoke of clarity arriving during long walks. Artists felt ideas emerging suddenly during moments of calm. Einstein often said that his best ideas came not while sitting at a desk, but while drifting in thought. The environment of insight is almost always the same. A relaxed body, an open mind, gentle attention. Not focus, but curiosity. Not pressure, but space. This does not mean insight is passive. It requires the mind to be engaged beforehand. You must encounter a problem, a question, a challenge. You must explore it, even if the exploration feels incomplete. The subconscious needs material to work with. But once that material is present, stepping back can be more productive than pushing forward. Insight also depends on the ability to let go of fixed assumptions. When the conscious mind becomes rigid, insisting that a problem must be solved a certain way, insight has little room to emerge. Creativity depends on flexibility, on the willingness to release one idea so that another can be seen. This is why insight often feels surprising. It sidesteps habitual patterns and reveals something unexpected, something that feels both new and deeply familiar. Emotion plays a role here as well. A positive, relaxed emotional state expands awareness. It widens the scope of attention, allowing the subconscious to draw from a broader range of memories and associations. Negative emotions, especially stress, narrow focus. They restrict the mind's ability to see possibilities. Relaxation, on the other hand, opens the door for insight to step through. Consider a moment when you felt stuck on a decision or a creative idea. You wrestled with it, tried to force clarity, and found none. Then, after stepping away, after allowing yourself to rest or distract your mind, the answer emerged. It felt obvious, almost effortless. This is the natural rhythm of insight. Engagement followed by rest. Focus followed by release. The brain does not stop working when you step away. It reorganizes. It tests new combinations. It searches for patterns just beyond conscious reach. These subconscious searches are not linear. They are more like spreading ripples, touching distant ideas and bringing them together in new ways. Insight also appears in social understanding. Sometimes you suddenly realize what someone meant days after a conversation. A subtle expression, a quiet note in their voice, a look in their eyes finally makes sense. The subconscious had stored the moment and processed it slowly until clarity formed. This type of insight deepens relationships, helping you understand people more intuitively over time. Some insights are small, others are life-changing. Some solve practical problems, others reveal something about values, identity, or direction. What they share is the feeling of sudden clarity, a sense of alignment between knowledge and intuition, a sense that something has clicked into place. As you rest here in this moment, your mind may be doing its own quiet work. It might be reorganizing ideas from earlier in the day. It might be forming connections that will rise to the surface later. You do not need to force anything. Insight cannot be pushed. It can only be allowed. Relaxation supports this process. Calm breathing, gentle awareness, and the absence of pressure create the conditions where insight becomes more likely. Not because relaxation creates new knowledge, but because it lets the subconscious mind speak more clearly. Sudden insight is the meeting point of intuition and understanding. It is the moment when hidden connections rise into awareness, bringing clarity that feels natural and earned. From here, the journey flows naturally into creativity, a realm where intuition and insight work together to form ideas that shape art, invention, innovation, and imagination. Creativity is where the mind explores possibility, guided by the same subconscious processes that produce sudden clarity. Intuition and creativity. Creativity is often imagined as something mysterious, something reserved for artists, musicians, or inventors, but in truth, it is a universal human ability. Everyone creates, everyone imagines, everyone forms ideas that did not exist before. Creativity is simply the mind's ability to combine patterns in new ways, and intuition is one of its most powerful guides. The two are intertwined, moving together through the quiet processes of the brain, shaping thoughts that feel fresh, meaningful, or surprising. Settle into a calm place as you continue listening. Creativity, like insight, thrives when the mind is relaxed. It does not rush. It unfolds. When the body softens, the mind widens. This widening is the ground on which creative intuition grows. Creativity begins with openness. When you encounter the world without rigid expectations, you allow more information to enter the mind. Small impressions, subtle details, fleeting sensations. These fragments become the building blocks of creativity. The subconscious stores them, organizes them, and waits for the right moment to bring them forward. Think of how a painter observes light falling on a surface, or how a musician feels rhythm in footsteps or wind. These experiences are not analyzed consciously in the moment. They are absorbed quietly. Later, when the artist stands before a canvas or the musician picks up an instrument, those impressions return. They shape the choices that create something new. This process is not limited to artistic fields. A scientist forming a hypothesis, a teacher finding a new way to explain a concept, a parent discovering how to comfort a child, a person rethinking a problem at work. These are all creative acts. They draw from intuition just as much as they draw from knowledge. Creativity depends on the ability to see beyond the immediate and connect ideas that might seem unrelated at first. This is where intuition plays its strongest role. The subconscious mind explores possibilities without the constraints of logic. It moves freely through memory and emotion, picking up fragments and testing how they might fit together. In this freedom, creativity emerges. Picture a person sitting quietly at the end of the day. They are not trying to create anything. They are simply letting their thoughts drift. A memory from childhood arises. A sound from earlier in the day returns. A problem they have been thinking about lingers in the background. Slowly, without effort, connections form. A new idea appears. It might be small at first, like a seed, but it feels promising. The person feels an inner shift, a sense of potential. This is intuitive creativity. It arrives naturally, not through force. Patterns play an essential role in this. The subconscious mind excels at pattern recognition. It detects similarities between ideas, even when those similarities are subtle. When a pattern is recognized, and when the conscious mind is open and relaxed, creativity flows more easily. The insight arrives with clarity, and the creative idea feels grounded, as if it was waiting to be found. Another important ingredient in creativity is immersion. When you spend time in an environment, a subject, or an experience, the subconscious absorbs its patterns deeply. This is why creative people often speak of thinking about their work even when they are not actively working. The mind remains engaged, collecting impressions, storing ideas, and comparing them to past experiences. Over time, the subconscious forms a rich map of associations. When the person returns to their craft, intuition guides their choices. They may not know why they select a particular color, word, or structure, but the choice feels right. This feeling arises from countless memories and emotional responses stored in the mind. Creativity also depends on emotional intelligence. Emotions are not obstacles to creativity. They are fuel. They guide the mind toward ideas that feel meaningful or expressive. They deepen understanding and help shape intuitive judgments. A person who listens to their emotional responses can create with authenticity, connecting with others through shared human experience. Even when creativity takes an analytical form, intuition remains important. Consider someone designing a solution to a complex problem. They gather information, analyze possibilities, and construct a plan. But in the moments between analysis, intuition often provides direction. It signals when an idea resonates, when a path feels promising, or when something is missing. Creativity also benefits from exploration. When you expose yourself to new ideas, environments, and experiences, you expand the subconscious mind's library. The more diverse your experiences, the more patterns your mind can draw from. This is why travel, conversation, reading, and curiosity enrich creativity. Each new experience adds more material for intuitive connections. But creativity also requires space. The mind needs moments of stillness and rest to process information. This is where relaxation becomes essential. When the nervous system settles, the subconscious works more smoothly. Ideas surface without resistance. The sense of flow becomes more accessible. Many creative breakthroughs occur during transitions. Waking up, falling asleep, walking, or sitting quietly. These moments soften the boundaries between conscious and subconscious processing. The mind drifts gently, allowing patterns to rise. The creative idea appears not as a forced solution, but as an unexpected companion. Trust plays a role too. To follow intuition in creativity, you must trust the feeling that an idea is worth exploring. You may not know where it leads, but you sense its potential. This trust gives creativity room to grow. It allows ideas to evolve, change, and take shape without judgment. Intuition can also guide you away from ideas that do not align with your values or goals. When something feels off, that feeling is information. Creativity is as much about selection as it is about generation. Knowing when to let go of an idea is just as important as knowing when to follow one. Over time, intuition in creativity becomes more refined. Experience teaches the subconscious what patterns lead to meaningful outcomes. The more you create, the more accurately your intuition can guide future choices. This is why seasoned creators often seem to work with ease. Their intuition has been sharpened by years of exploration. Creativity is not a talent possessed by a few. It is an evolutionary ability shared by all humans. It helps us adapt, connect, innovate, and express ourselves. It allows us to navigate the complexities of life with flexibility and imagination. And at the heart of this ability is intuition, working silently to form connections that conscious thought alone could not find. As you rest in this calm state, your own creative intuition may be gently at work. It might be forming ideas for tomorrow, possibilities for your future, or reflections on your past. You do not need to guide it. You simply allow it to move freely, trusting that insight and creativity often arise in moments of ease. From here, the journey of intuition continues into the world of sleep and dreaming, where the mind enters a state unlike any other. In dreams, associations stretch even further, memories reorganize, and unexpected connections form. The sleeping brain becomes a playground for intuition, shaping understanding in ways that influence waking life. When you are ready, we will explore how dreaming contributes to insight, creativity, and the deeper processes of the mind. Dreaming and insight. Dreaming is one of the most remarkable functions of the human mind, a state where memory, emotion, imagination, and intuition converge in ways that reshape understanding. During sleep, the brain does not turn off. Instead, it enters a different mode of processing, one that loosens the boundaries of waking thought and allows deeper connections to form. In this state, intuition becomes more fluid, more expansive, and more capable of integrating experiences that waking consciousness might overlook. The sleeping brain cycles through stages, moving from light sleep into deeper slow-wave phases, and eventually into rapid eye movement sleep. Each stage contributes differently to learning and understanding. In slow-wave sleep, the brain consolidates factual information, organizing memories into stable forms. In rapid eye movement sleep, emotional memories are processed, creative associations strengthen, and the mind rehearses future possibilities in symbolic form. What emerges from these processes is an expanded understanding of the world and of the self. Dreams reflect the mind's ability to combine elements that do not usually appear together. Locations from the past blend with people from the present. Emotions intensify or soften. Scenes shift without logical boundaries. These movements are not random. They reveal how the brain tests combinations of ideas, rehearses solutions, and forms new perspectives. The boundaries between concepts loosen, giving intuition a wider range of patterns to explore. During dreaming, the brain revisits experiences from the day. Small fragments that seemed insignificant may be given new meaning. Conversations are replayed with different emotional tones. Problems are examined from angles that waking thought cannot easily reach. These internal movements allow the brain to extract deeper lessons from daily life. Insights often emerge after sleep because the brain has reorganized information during the night, strengthening connections that were previously faint. This reorganization is especially visible during moments of creative insight. Writers, scientists, musicians, and thinkers throughout history have described solutions appearing after sleep. A melody becomes clearer, a scientific problem resolves, a storyline aligns. These changes occur because dreaming allows the brain to relax the constraints of waking logic and engage with a wider field of associations. Intuition, shaped by the subconscious, becomes more expressive. It explores combinations that might seem unconventional during the day, but meaningful in the dream state. Emotion plays an important role in dreaming. When the brain encounters a strong emotional experience, it processes it during rapid eye movement sleep. The emotional charge remains stored, but the intensity softens. This helps the brain understand the experience without being overwhelmed by it. As the emotional memory reorganizes, intuitive understanding deepens. A person may wake with a clearer sense of why something mattered, or with a new perspective on an event that felt confusing before. Dreams also rehearse challenges. The brain simulates scenarios that allow a person to practice responses. This rehearsal is subtle. It does not follow strict logic, but it strengthens the networks involved in decision-making, emotional regulation, and intuition. When a similar situation arises in waking life, the brain responds more effectively because it has already explored the pattern during sleep. This rehearsal does not need to be remembered consciously. The benefit remains even when the dream is forgotten. The symbolic quality of dreams reflects the way the subconscious communicates. Instead of speaking in language, it speaks in images, sensations, and themes. These symbols emerge from memory and emotion, shaped by personal meaning. When someone dreams of falling, they may be processing uncertainty. When they dream of searching for something, they may be exploring an unresolved question. These symbols are not universal. They emerge from the individual's personal experiences, forming a private reflection of intuitive understanding. Dreams also stretch the imagination. They allow the mind to explore possibilities that waking life does not offer. This expansion supports creativity by introducing new associations. A person may wake with a sense of direction, a clear idea, or a subtle shift in perspective. These changes often feel intuitive because they arise from subconscious processing, not deliberate planning. The brain has discovered a new connection, and intuition carries it into waking awareness. In dreaming, the boundaries of the self become more flexible. The mind revisits memories, projects into the future, and imagines alternatives. This flexibility strengthens intuitive decision-making by expanding the range of patterns the subconscious can draw from. When faced with a choice, the mind compares the present situation with countless experiences, including those shaped in dreams. The resulting intuition feels natural because it emerges from deeply integrated understanding. Dreams also strengthen relationships by deepening empathy. When the brain processes emotional experiences during sleep, it enhances the networks responsible for understanding others. This can lead to a more intuitive sense of what someone else might be feeling or needing. Intuition in relationships is often supported by the emotional integration that occurs during dreaming. The mind's ability to generate insight during sleep highlights a simple truth. Understanding is not limited to waking thought. The brain continues to learn even when consciousness rests. Dreams reveal how the subconscious works with memory, pattern, and emotion to form a more complete picture of the world. They show that intuition is not a sudden gift, but the result of countless internal processes unfolding quietly throughout the night. Dreaming is a natural partner to intuition. Together, they shape the inner landscape of understanding. Every night, the brain revisits experiences, adjusts emotional responses, strengthens memories, and tests possibilities. These processes prepare the mind for clearer insight during the day, giving intuition a richer foundation to draw from. As dreaming enriches intuition, it also prepares the mind for deeper social understanding. This brings the exploration naturally to intuition in relationships, where subtle cues, shared emotions, and silent communication form another vital dimension of intuitive intelligence. Intuition in relationships. Human relationships are built on far more than words. Long before language reached its current complexity, people relied on subtle signals to understand one another. Even today, communication depends heavily on intuition, on the ability to sense emotion, intention, and connection through cues that the conscious mind rarely analyzes in detail. The capacity to understand others intuitively is one of the most important human abilities, shaped by millions of years of social living. From infancy, humans are tuned to emotional expression. A baby responds to facial movements, tone of voice, and rhythm long before understanding any spoken meaning. These early interactions shape the foundations of intuitive social understanding. The brain becomes familiar with patterns of expression, building internal maps that guide future interactions. When someone smiles, frowns, pauses, or shifts their posture, the mind interprets these signals automatically through networks formed in early development. As people grow, their intuitive sense of others becomes more refined. The subconscious stores countless moments of social experience, each containing emotional subtleties. The way a friend's voice changes when they are tired, the tension in a stranger's shoulders, the way someone averts their gaze when they are unsure. These signals are absorbed quietly, repeatedly, until they form a library of patterns that intuition uses to interpret social situations. This silent knowledge allows a person to feel what others may not say directly. A room can feel calm or tense without a single word spoken. A conversation can shift emotionally before any topic changes. Intuition detects these transitions by comparing them to past patterns, revealing meaning that lies beneath the surface. The body plays a major role in this form of intuition. Emotions are not only mental states. They produce physical changes that others can sense. When someone is anxious, their movements may become tighter. When someone is confident, their posture may open. These cues are perceived unconsciously, influencing the intuitive understanding of others. The body mirrors what it sees, aligning its own rhythms with the rhythms of those nearby, a process often called emotional resonance. Emotional resonance forms the basis of empathy. The brain contains mirroring systems that respond to the actions and emotions of others as if they were happening within the self. When someone watches another person smile, neurons associated with smiling activate subtly. When someone hears another person speak in a sad tone, their body registers the emotional shift before conscious interpretation. This mirroring helps people understand each other deeply and naturally. Intuition in relationships depends on this resonance. It allows people to sense what someone needs or feels, even when words are limited. It helps parents soothe children, friends comfort one another, and partners navigate shared life with sensitivity. The ability to pick up emotional cues without direct explanation strengthens connection and trust. Trust itself is a deeply intuitive experience. The mind evaluates reliability through patterns of behavior. Consistency, tone, sincerity, and presence become signals that shape intuitive judgments. When someone is truthful and steady over time, the brain associates them with safety, generating a sense of ease. When someone's behavior is unpredictable or inconsistent, the mind may create subtle tension. These impressions guide interactions long before they become conscious thoughts. Not all intuitive impressions in relationships are accurate. The mind sometimes draws from limited or biased experiences. Stress, past conflict, or emotional wounds can distort intuitive signals. A person who has been hurt may interpret neutral expressions as threatening. A person who has experienced betrayal may misunderstand sincerity as potential danger. Understanding the influence of past experiences helps make intuition in relationships more balanced and self-aware. Experience and reflection refine social intuition. When someone takes time to understand their own emotions, they become more attuned to the emotions of others. When they observe interactions with curiosity rather than assumption, the subconscious absorbs new patterns. Over time, these patterns shape clearer and more reliable intuitive judgments. Intuition is especially strong in close relationships. People who spend significant time together develop shared rhythms. They learn one another's patterns so deeply that communication becomes almost effortless. A small gesture or change in expression can communicate more than a sentence. Comfort, affection, irritation, or concern can be recognized instantly, not because of analysis, but because intuition understands the pattern. This shared rhythm makes cooperation natural. People working closely together often anticipate each other's needs without discussion. They move in harmony, adjusting based on subtle cues. This intuitive cooperation is essential in families, friendships, and collaborative environments. It supports teamwork, problem-solving, and emotional support. Conflict also reveals the power of intuition. People often sense the direction of a disagreement before it becomes explicit. A shift in tone, a pause, a slight change in breathing. These cues alert the mind to rising tension. Intuition helps navigate conflict by offering early signals, giving people the opportunity to respond with awareness rather than reactivity. Healthy relationships depend on recognizing both intuitive signals and conscious understanding. When intuition is combined with communication, relationships become stronger. When someone senses a change in another person's mood and responds with curiosity instead of assumption, connection deepens. When intuition signals discomfort and the person explores it with honesty rather than avoidance, clarity grows. Intuition also enhances compassion. When someone recognizes the unspoken struggles of another, they can offer support quietly. Compassion becomes intuitive when the mind and body understand the signals of vulnerability or fatigue. This understanding is not forced. It arises naturally from the patterns stored in the subconscious. The strength of intuition in relationships reflects humanity's social nature. Cooperation has always been essential for survival. Understanding others quickly and accurately helped early humans succeed in groups, protect one another, and raise their young cooperatively. This evolutionary history is still present in modern interactions, guiding social behavior with subtle but powerful signals. While intuition helps navigate emotional landscapes, it does not replace reasoning. When understanding others, intuition and analysis work together. Intuition provides immediate impressions based on patterns. Analysis offers context, reflection, and interpretation. Together, they support deeper connection and healthier communication. Now, as intuition shapes relationships, it connects to another essential aspect of human cognition. Beyond emotion and social cues, the mind also depends on deliberate reasoning. Understanding how intuition interacts with conscious logic adds another layer to the exploration of human insight. This brings the narrative to the analytical mind, where conscious thought and intuitive understanding meet to form balanced decisions and deeper awareness. The analytical mind. Human cognition is shaped by two complementary systems. One operates quickly and quietly, forming intuitive impressions through hidden patterns. The other moves more slowly, examining information with deliberate reasoning. This second system is the analytical mind, the part of human intelligence that uses logic, structure, and conscious awareness to interpret the world. It is here that ideas are tested, decisions are weighed, and understanding becomes organized into clear thought. The analytical mind developed gradually over the course of human evolution. Early humans relied heavily on intuition and instinct, but as societies grew more complex, the ability to plan, strategize, and reason became increasingly important. The prefrontal regions of the brain expanded, giving humans the capacity for long-term thinking, symbolic representation, and abstract problem-solving. These abilities allowed people to build tools, create language, and develop systems of knowledge that shaped culture and civilization. Reasoning begins with attention. When the analytical mind engages, it focuses on specific details, filtering out distractions to examine information more closely. Attention acts like a spotlight, illuminating a small part of the cognitive landscape. While this focus can be narrow, it allows the mind to analyze patterns consciously rather than relying solely on the subconscious. This is useful when precision is needed or when a situation is unfamiliar. The analytical mind excels at breaking problems into parts. When faced with a complex situation, it separates elements, evaluates options, and constructs step-by-step plans. This methodical approach is essential for tasks that require accuracy, such as solving mathematical problems, navigating new environments, or understanding systems that do not follow familiar patterns. Where intuition draws from experience, analysis builds frameworks for situations that lack a clear precedent. Language is one of the strongest tools of the analytical mind. With language, humans can label concepts, describe events, express thoughts, and communicate ideas with precision. Language allows the mind to organize experience into categories, compare differences, and identify relationships between concepts. This reduces ambiguity and makes learning more efficient. Through language, ideas become clearer and insights can be shared across individuals and generations. However, the analytical mind is not separate from the rest of cognition. It relies on information provided by sensory input, memory, emotion, and intuition. Reasoning begins with impressions gathered from the environment and from internal experience. Even the most logical thought process emerges from a foundation of intuitive patterns that the mind has already formed. The analytical mind builds on these patterns, refining them into structures that can be examined and shared. Emotions interact with reasoning in important ways. The analytical mind uses emotion as a guide, not a distraction. When an idea resonates emotionally, it becomes more meaningful. When something feels uncertain or uncomfortable, the emotional response provides information that reasoning can evaluate. Emotions help prioritize which problems matter, which solutions feel aligned, and which paths require attention. Without emotion, reasoning becomes directionless. Without reasoning, emotion becomes difficult to interpret. Together, they form a balanced system. Bias is one of the challenges the analytical mind faces. Because reasoning draws from memory and past experience, it can be influenced by patterns that are not fully accurate. The mind may assume that a familiar pattern applies to a new situation, even when it does not. Recognizing the limits of intuition and the potential for cognitive bias helps reasoning stay grounded. Reflection, curiosity, and openness help refine both intuitive impressions and analytical conclusions. Despite these challenges, the analytical mind has remarkable strengths. It allows people to step back from instinct, question assumptions, and consider alternative perspectives. It supports problem solving in unfamiliar environments and provides the tools needed to understand complex systems. It helps humans imagine future outcomes, resist impulses, and make thoughtful decisions. It transforms raw experience into insight that can be shared and taught. Reasoning also enhances creativity. While intuition forms connections spontaneously, analysis helps refine those connections into coherent ideas. An artist might feel an intuitive pull toward a certain theme, but deliberate thought helps shape the final expression. A scientist may experience an intuitive spark, but analytical thinking tests the idea through structured methods. Creativity thrives when intuition generates possibilities and analysis shapes them into form. The analytical mind also plays a major role in self-understanding. Through reflection, People examine their thoughts, behaviors, and emotions. This reflective process helps identify patterns, clarify values, and make intentional changes. When intuition signals something important, the analytical mind interprets the signal, giving it language and structure. Over time, this partnership strengthens personal insight. In decision-making, intuition offers rapid assessments, while analysis examines long-term implications. Intuition may recognize patterns instantly, but analysis ensures that choices are consistent with goals and context. When the two systems align, decisions feel both grounded and natural. When they conflict, deeper reflection helps uncover whether the intuitive impression is accurate or whether analysis needs more information. The analytical mind does not silence intuition. Instead, it shapes intuition into understanding. It acts as an interpreter, taking the subtle language of sensation and pattern and translating it into clear, actionable thought. This interplay between two forms of intelligence is one of the most powerful aspects of human cognition. As reasoning deepens, another dimension of insight emerges. Beyond logic lies the realm of uncertainty, complexity, and mystery. Human understanding, no matter how advanced, has limits. Recognizing these limits does not diminish insight. Instead, it reveals a space where curiosity grows, where intuition explores without the need for certainty, and where wonder becomes a source of learning. This leads naturally into the next exploration, where the limits of understanding reveal the beauty of the unknown and the ways intuition navigates the spaces where analysis cannot fully explain. When mind meets mystery, human understanding, no matter how expansive, meets its limits in many areas of experience. There are questions that do not resolve neatly, patterns that cannot be fully explained, and moments where logic reaches the edge of what it can analyze. In these places of uncertainty, intuition becomes especially important, not as a source of absolute answers, but as a guide through the complexity of the unknown. Mystery is not an obstacle to understanding. It is a natural part of the human experience, shaping curiosity, creativity, and quiet contemplation. Every person encounters uncertainty. It appears in decisions without clear outcomes, in emotions that do not fit a familiar pattern, in situations where information is incomplete. The analytical mind attempts to make sense of these moments by examining details and exploring possibilities, but sometimes the available information is insufficient. In such moments, the mind shifts into a different mode. It listens to impressions, relies on past experience, and feels its way through ambiguity. This feeling is intuition navigating uncertainty, drawing from patterns that the subconscious has stored. Mystery does not imply chaos. It reflects the limits of what can be known with certainty. The world contains more variables than any person can fully grasp at once. Relationships, choices, and internal states involve layers of complexity that evolve over time. Intuition functions in this complexity by recognizing subtle cues that logic might overlook. It does not guarantee perfect accuracy, but it provides orientation, helping people move through uncertainty with steadiness instead of tension. Nature offers an example of this relationship between understanding and mystery. Early humans learned patterns in weather, seasons, and animal behavior, but many aspects of nature remained unpredictable. Those unpredictable elements shaped respect and curiosity. They encouraged observation, exploration, and adaptability. Intuition helped fill in the gaps, offering guidance when the world shifted unexpectedly. Even now, Nature contains rhythms that science can measure but not fully predict. The sense of wonder that arises from these unknowns deepens awareness rather than diminishing it. Mystery also appears in inner experience. The mind itself contains pathways that cannot be fully accessed consciously. Thoughts arise unexpectedly. Emotions shift gradually or suddenly. Memories surface without clear triggers. These movements reflect the depth of the subconscious, which operates on a scale far larger than conscious awareness. Intuition interacts with these internal mysteries by sensing patterns in thought and emotion. When something feels meaningful or misaligned, the intuition provides an early signal, even when the conscious mind cannot yet explain why. In relationships, mystery takes the form of the unknown experiences, histories, and emotions within another person. No matter how close two people are, each holds an inner world that cannot be fully understood by someone else. Intuition helps interpret subtle signs, tone, posture, expressions, providing a sense of what someone may be feeling or needing. Reasoning contributes clarity, but intuition captures the nuances that words often miss. The combination allows people to connect in the presence of mystery rather than being limited by it. Mystery also surrounds identity and purpose. People evolve throughout life, shaped by experiences that transform their values and interests. At times, direction feels clear. At other times, it becomes uncertain. Moments of transition can feel open-ended, without a clear path. Intuition plays a role here by guiding attention toward what feels aligned, meaningful, or energizing. It points toward possibilities that fit with personal values, even before those values are articulated consciously. This process does not eliminate the unknown, but it offers navigation through it. Approaching mystery with curiosity rather than fear allows intuition to function more effectively. When the mind resists uncertainty, stress increases and intuitive signals become harder to interpret. When the mind allows uncertainty to exist without urgency, intuitive impressions surface more naturally. This openness strengthens the ability to adapt and respond with flexibility rather than rigidity. Many fields of knowledge acknowledge the presence of mystery. In science, unanswered questions drive research forward. In philosophy, the limits of certainty open discussions about meaning and existence. In art, ambiguity invites interpretation. In daily life, uncertainty shapes resilience and creativity. Intuition acts as a companion in each of these areas, offering direction when information is incomplete. Living with mystery requires balance. Analysis provides structure and clarity. Intuition offers subtle guidance. Together, they create a way of understanding that is both grounded and flexible. Recognizing the limits of knowledge does not weaken insight. It strengthens it by acknowledging the full landscape of human experience, both what can be understood and what remains open. Mystery also deepens appreciation. When something cannot be fully explained, it invites attention. It encourages observation. It inspires wonder. The human mind responds to this wonder with creativity and exploration, forming new patterns that intuition can draw from. In this way, the unknown becomes a catalyst for deeper insight. Even in the presence of uncertainty, the mind seeks coherence. It looks for patterns that align with internal values and past experiences. Intuition helps recognize these patterns, providing a sense of orientation that does not require perfect clarity. This orientation forms the basis for decisions, relationships, personal growth, and creative expression. The relationship between intuition and mystery reflects a simple truth. Not everything needs to be fully understood for the mind to navigate it effectively. Intuitive signals offer guidance where details are missing. Reasoning shapes understanding where clarity exists. Mystery fills the spaces between the two, providing room for discovery, reflection, and depth. The interplay between the known and the unknown becomes a foundation for the next dimension of intuition. Beyond external mysteries lies the internal compass that shapes personal direction, purpose, and identity, allowing intuition to guide decisions in ways that reflect who a person is and who they are becoming. The inner compass. Every person carries an internal sense of direction that is not always visible, but consistently present. It does not operate through strict logic or external rules. It functions through intuition, values, memories, and emotional patterns that together form a quiet guidance system. This inner compass shapes choices, preferences, and paths throughout life, helping a person move toward what feels meaningful and away from what feels misaligned. The inner compass begins forming early in life. Experiences create emotional associations, and these associations become the foundation for intuitive judgments. A moment of kindness becomes linked with safety. A moment of pressure becomes linked with discomfort. A place where someone feels understood becomes connected with belonging. Through repetition, the subconscious begins to map these connections, creating a sense of what feels right or wrong, long before the analytical mind can articulate why. Identity plays a central role in this compass. As people grow, they gather experiences that shape their understanding of themselves. The mind identifies patterns in behavior, interests, strengths, and challenges. These patterns form a sense of self that is not fixed but evolves over time. Intuition interacts with this sense of self, responding strongly when a choice aligns with identity or conflicts with it. This is why some decisions feel deeply satisfying, while others feel uneasy, even when they appear reasonable. The body and intuition react to alignment. Meaning is another element of the inner compass. People are drawn to activities, relationships, and pursuits that evoke a sense of purpose. This feeling arises from intuitive recognition of patterns that resonate with personal values. When someone feels energized or deeply engaged, intuition signals that they are on a path that fits with their deeper nature. When they feel drained or disconnected, intuition signals misalignment, encouraging reflection or change. Values guide the direction of the inner compass. These values may be shaped by culture, upbringing, personal experience, or reflection. They include qualities such as honesty, compassion, curiosity, resilience, and creativity. Intuition responds strongly to these values. When an action aligns with what a person values, the intuitive sense feels clear. When it conflicts, discomfort arises. This internal reaction acts as a guide through complex decisions, especially when external expectations are unclear or contradictory. Memory also influences the inner compass. The subconscious stores patterns from past experiences, comparing them to present situations. A familiar sense of safety or discomfort signals whether a direction feels suitable. These signals operate quickly, often before conscious awareness fully evaluates the situation. Over time, the mind learns to trust these signals when they consistently prove accurate. The inner compass is not rigid. It adapts as a person grows, learns, and encounters new possibilities. When someone explores a new environment or pursues a new interest, intuition gathers new patterns. With experience, the compass adjusts, offering fresh guidance based on updated understanding. This flexibility allows personal evolution while maintaining internal coherence. Reflection strengthens the inner compass. When someone pauses to consider why a certain path feels compelling or uncomfortable, they deepen their understanding of intuitive signals. Reflection turns intuition into insight. It clarifies the values and experiences behind intuitive feelings, enabling more intentional decision-making. This combination of intuition and reflection creates a balanced internal guidance system. Listening to the inner compass requires moments of stillness or subtle attention. When life becomes noisy or rushed, intuitive signals can feel faint. The mind may be pulled in many directions at once, making it difficult to sense what feels aligned. When someone slows down, even briefly, intuition becomes clearer. The body relaxes, emotional patterns surface, and the inner compass begins to point gently toward or away from choices. People often describe this feeling as clarity, ease, or a quiet sense of knowing. It does not always provide detailed instructions. Instead, it offers direction toward growth, connection, honesty, or rest. The details come later through reflection and reasoning. This interplay is how decisions become both intuitive and grounded. The inner compass also guides long-term direction. People may feel drawn toward particular careers, relationships, environments, or pursuits without being able to fully explain why. These long-term pulls often arise from deep patterns in identity and values. When someone follows these intuitive directions, they tend to feel more authentic and engaged. When they ignore them for long periods, they may feel unsettled or disconnected from themselves. Challenges and transitions reveal the inner compass most clearly. When circumstances change, intuition helps identify which directions support growth and which ones sustain limitation. It signals when it is time to move forward, when it is time to rest, and when it is time to reconsider. These signals can be subtle, but they gain strength when a person learns to interpret them. Intuition also protects the inner compass from being overwhelmed by external expectations. Society, peers, and cultural systems often influence decisions. While these influences can be helpful, they can also create pressure that pulls someone away from their own values. Intuition offers an internal reference point, helping people recognize when external expectations conflict with personal truth. When an action feels forced or hollow, the inner compass reflects this discomfort. Over time, trust in the inner compass grows through consistent recognition of its accuracy. When intuitive choices lead to positive outcomes or meaningful experiences, confidence increases. When intuition warns of discomfort and the warning proves correct, trust deepens further. This trust does not eliminate uncertainty, but provides stability within it. The strength of the inner compass reflects a larger pattern in the human mind. Intuition, memory, emotion, and identity work together to form a dynamic system that guides personal direction. Reasoning helps interpret and refine this guidance, creating choices that feel both intuitive and intentional. As the exploration of intuition moves deeper, another layer emerges: how intuition can be strengthened through practice, awareness, and experience. Training intuition does not mean forcing it to grow. It means learning how to create conditions that allow it to function clearly and understanding how to interpret its signals with confidence and balance. Training intuition. Intuition is not fixed. It is a skill that grows with experience, awareness, and deliberate attention to the signals the mind and body provide. Just as reasoning strengthens when someone practices problem solving, intuition strengthens when someone learns to notice patterns, reflect on impressions, and stay present with subtle cues. Training intuition does not require special techniques or complicated rituals. It involves cultivating habits that sharpen perception and deepen understanding. The first element in training intuition is presence. When the mind is scattered or distracted, intuitive signals become harder to notice. Presence does not mean intense focus. It means being mentally available for the experience at hand. When someone listens fully during a conversation, observes their environment without rushing, or pays attention to their internal state, they create conditions where intuition becomes clearer. Presence allows the subconscious to communicate without being drowned out by noise. Listening to the body is another essential part of developing intuition. The body provides information long before the conscious mind constructs explanations. Tension, ease, warmth, or unsettled sensations are not random. They are signals that reflect emotional and cognitive patterns. When someone notices these sensations without judgment, they improve their ability to interpret intuitive reactions. Over time, the connection between physical sensation and internal meaning becomes more familiar. Experience shapes intuition through repetition. When someone engages repeatedly in a specific activity, whether it is art, communication, decision-making, or problem-solving, their subconscious gathers patterns. These patterns improve accuracy, allowing intuition to respond quickly and effectively. A musician intuitively senses the next note. A teacher anticipates a student's confusion. A doctor feels when something is unusual, even before tests confirm it. These intuitive abilities grow through exposure, practice, and reflection. Reflection strengthens intuition by turning impressions into understanding. When someone follows an intuitive feeling and later examines the outcome, they learn whether the signal was accurate. Reflecting on both accurate and inaccurate impressions teaches the mind which patterns to trust and which ones may be influenced by stress, assumptions, or old habits. Over time, reflection refines intuition, reducing error and strengthening clarity. Learning to differentiate intuition from impulse is also important. Impulse is fast and often driven by immediate emotion or desire. Intuition is quieter, more stable, and rooted in deeper patterns. When a feeling is urgent or chaotic, it is more likely to be impulse. When it is calm, steady, and persistent, it is more likely to be intuitive. Training intuition involves recognizing these differences and choosing responses that align with clarity rather than reactivity. Exposure to diverse experiences expands the range of patterns intuition can draw from. Travel, conversation, reading, observation, creativity, and new activities all enrich the subconscious. Each experience becomes part of the mind's library, increasing the depth of intuitive insight. The more varied the experiences, the more nuanced the intuitive understanding becomes. Calm environments support intuitive clarity. Stress narrows attention and overwhelms the nervous system, making intuitive signals harder to interpret. Moments of calm allow the subconscious to surface ideas and impressions with greater ease. This calm does not require complete silence. Even simple activities, walking, sitting in nature, listening to soft sounds, can create mental space for intuition to function. Pattern recognition is central to intuition. The brain constantly looks for similarities, differences, and relationships between experiences. When someone practices observing these patterns consciously, their subconscious becomes better at capturing them automatically. This can be done in small ways, such as noticing how certain environments influence mood, recognizing repeated themes in personal decisions, or observing how certain interactions produce similar emotional responses. As the mind becomes more attuned to patterns, intuitive insight strengthens. Over time, someone may sense the underlying structure of a situation without needing to analyze every detail. This does not replace reasoning, it complements it. A strong intuitive sense helps reasoning focus on what matters most, reducing time spent on irrelevant possibilities. Developing intuition also involves accepting uncertainty. When someone expects absolute clarity, they may overlook subtle signals that guide direction. Intuition grows when the mind is open to possibilities rather than demanding certainty. This openness encourages exploration, curiosity, and flexible thinking, conditions that support both intuition and creativity. Self-awareness enhances intuitive accuracy. When someone understands their emotional tendencies, personal biases, and behavioral patterns, they can interpret intuitive signals more clearly. Self-awareness prevents the mind from misinterpreting intuition as fear, desire, or habit. It creates space for genuine intuitive insight to emerge without distortion. Consistency strengthens intuition over time. When someone regularly listens to their internal signals, reflects on them, and observes outcomes, intuition becomes more reliable. The relationship between conscious and subconscious processing becomes smoother, and the mind becomes more integrated. Decisions feel more aligned with identity and values, reducing internal conflict. Practicing small intuitive decisions can build confidence. Choosing foods based on internal signals, selecting routes that feel comfortable, or sensing when to rest or continue working all strengthen the internal dialogue between intuition and awareness. These small decisions reinforce trust, making larger intuitive choices easier to navigate. As intuition sharpens, it begins to work seamlessly with analytical thinking. Instead of relying solely on one or the other, the mind blends them. Intuition offers direction. Analysis offers structure. Together, they create decisions that feel balanced, authentic, and well-informed. The strengthening of intuition sets the stage for understanding how human insight continues to evolve. Modern life introduces new challenges and opportunities, and technology, especially artificial intelligence, expands how humans engage with information, creativity, and decision-making. This evolution shapes the future of intuition, offering new ways for the mind to understand and interact with the world. The future of insight. Human intuition is shaped by experience, biology, emotion, and memory, but it also adapts to the world it inhabits. As the environment changes, so does the mind's way of forming understanding. In the modern era, the world is evolving rapidly. Information is more abundant, technology is more advanced, and artificial intelligence is becoming an increasing presence in daily life. These changes raise new questions about how intuition will develop and how insight will evolve in the years ahead. Throughout human history, new tools have reshaped the way people think. The invention of writing expanded memory beyond the brain. The printing press increased access to knowledge. The scientific method introduced new ways to test ideas. Each advancement transformed human cognition in its own way. Today's technological shift is just as significant. Artificial intelligence now processes information at scales and speeds far beyond human capacity, offering patterns, predictions, and insights that people may not reach on their own. This shift does not diminish human intuition. It changes how intuition interacts with information. When technology provides vast amounts of data quickly, the mind must learn to interpret and integrate that information without becoming overwhelmed. Intuition plays a role here by helping people sense relevance. It filters what matters from what does not. Even when presented with complex data, intuitive impressions help guide attention toward meaningful patterns. Artificial intelligence also influences creativity. When tools generate images, music, or ideas, people are exposed to new combinations they might not have imagined. This exposure expands the subconscious library of patterns, enriching creative intuition. Rather than replacing human insight, these tools offer new stimuli that the mind can use to form original perspectives. They become partners in exploration, not competitors. As technology integrates more deeply into daily life, the ability to balance external information with internal guidance becomes increasingly important. Intuition helps maintain this balance. It prevents the mind from relying solely on external sources, ensuring that personal values, emotional understanding, and embodied wisdom remain central in decision-making. Even in a world filled with algorithms, the inner compass continues to guide choices that reflect personal identity and meaning. Humans have always adapted to new environments through learning and intuition. The modern environment is digital, fast, and interconnected. This context trains new forms of intuitive pattern recognition. People now recognize social cues through online interactions, interpret tone in written messages, and sense emotional dynamics in virtual spaces. The subconscious absorbs these patterns as naturally as it once absorbed patterns from physical environments. Insight also evolves through increased access to diverse perspectives. Exposure to different cultures, ideas, and experiences broadens the mind's understanding. Intuition becomes more flexible and nuanced when it incorporates patterns from a wider range of human experiences. Technology accelerates this exposure, offering insights from across the world within moments. The mind integrates these impressions, shaping a more global and interconnected intuition. Another dimension of the future involves the relationship between conscious reasoning and machine-generated predictions. When artificial intelligence suggests possibilities or identifies patterns, the analytical mind evaluates them, but intuition plays a quiet role as well. It senses when something feels aligned or misaligned, even if the information presented is logical. This interplay between human intuition and machine reasoning highlights the uniquely human ability to integrate emotion, meaning, and personal history into decision-making. Even as artificial intelligence becomes more advanced, certain aspects of intuition remain distinctly human. Emotional resonance, empathy, and embodied understanding cannot be replicated through data alone. The ability to sense another person's mood, to feel the weight of a decision in the body, or to recognize subtle emotional cues relies on neural and physiological systems rooted in human experience. These qualities ensure that human intuition retains its depth even in a technologically enhanced world. The future of insight also includes a growing understanding of the brain itself. As neuroscience advances, researchers uncover more details about how intuition forms, how memories consolidate, and how insights emerge. This growing scientific knowledge does not eliminate mystery. It enriches understanding, offering new ways to shape environments and habits that support cognitive clarity and intuitive growth. Continuous learning becomes a defining part of future intuition. When people approach technology, relationships, and challenges with curiosity rather than resistance, the mind becomes more adaptable. This adaptability strengthens intuition by allowing the subconscious to integrate new patterns fluidly. A flexible mind forms insights more easily than a rigid one. Despite rapid technological change, the core elements of intuition remain stable. They are grounded in presence, emotion, memory, and lived experience. As long as humans continue to feel, to connect, and to reflect, intuition will remain a central part of understanding. It evolves with context, but stays rooted in the same biological and psychological processes that have guided humanity for generations. Insight in the future becomes a collaboration between multiple forms of intelligence. Human intuition provides depth. Analytical reasoning provides structure. Artificial intelligence provides scale. Together, they create a landscape where understanding can grow more quickly and more broadly than ever before. Yet, even in this expanded landscape, the quiet signals of the mind remain essential. The future does not replace intuition. It amplifies it. It gives intuition more patterns to work with, more perspectives to integrate, and more opportunities to guide decisions in a complex world. The inner compass remains relevant, offering clarity when information becomes overwhelming and meaning when choices become complicated. Insight continues to emerge in both familiar and new forms. Sometimes it appears as a quiet feeling in the chest, sometimes as a sudden understanding, sometimes as a creative idea shaped by both human experience and technological influence. Each expression reflects the enduring nature of intuition, adapting across time, yet remaining deeply recognizable. The evolution of insight leads naturally into a reflective close, where the entire journey through intuition, instinct, creativity, emotion, and understanding settles into a clear and steady perspective. Closing reflection. Intuition and insight shape human experience in ways that are both subtle and profound. They guide decisions, deepen relationships, support creativity, and help people navigate uncertainty with steadiness. They arise from ancient instincts, subconscious patterns, emotional signals, and the complex networks of the brain working quietly beneath awareness. Across the course of a life, these processes form an internal landscape of understanding that is always present even when unnoticed. Throughout this exploration, intuition has revealed itself as a natural form of intelligence. It is not separate from reason or emotion. It works with them, drawing from lived experience, memory, and embodied signals to form impressions that feel immediate and authentic. This intuitive intelligence is part of every person, shaped by the environments they move through and refined by the choices they make. Insight, too, is woven into everyday life. It arrives gradually or suddenly, forming connections that expand understanding. It emerges when the mind relaxes, when experiences gather, and when the subconscious brings forward patterns that have been forming quietly. Insight is not a rare event reserved for extraordinary moments. It is a continuous process, appearing in small realizations as often as in breakthrough ideas. Relaxation supports these internal processes. When the body softens and the mind becomes calm, intuitive signals rise more clearly. The nervous system feels steady. Emotional patterns become easier to interpret. Thoughts move without pressure. In this state, insight feels more natural, emerging with clarity rather than effort. The mind becomes more receptive, more open, and more capable of recognizing meaningful connections. The story of intuition is, in many ways, the story of human evolution. Early instincts shaped survival. Subconscious patterns shaped perception. Emotional intelligence shaped relationships. Creative intuition shaped culture. Analytical reasoning shaped structure. And the interplay between all these elements shaped the depth and richness of human understanding. This interplay continues today, guiding people through challenges, relationships, learning, and personal growth. Every individual carries an inner compass formed by values, identity, and emotional experience. This compass helps navigate choices that cannot be made through logic alone. It reflects personal history and future direction. When someone listens closely to this internal guidance, decisions feel more aligned and actions feel more meaningful. This sense of alignment strengthens trust in the self and reinforces clarity during moments of uncertainty. Training intuition is not about forcing insight. It is about creating conditions that allow intuitive processes to function naturally. Presence, reflection, emotional awareness, diverse experiences, and calm environments all support intuitive growth. Over time, these habits strengthen the relationship between conscious and subconscious processing, creating a smoother flow between instinct, reason, and insight. As the world evolves, human intuition evolves with it. Technology introduces new patterns for the mind to absorb. Information becomes more abundant. Connections become more global. Yet the foundations of intuition remain steady. Emotional resonance, embodied understanding, and personal meaning continue to shape intuitive insight in every context. The future expands possibilities, but the human mind retains its timeless ability to sense, interpret, and understand. Insight becomes a companion across life. It appears during moments of reflection, creativity, connection, and change. It supports decision-making when information is incomplete. It offers clarity when choices feel complicated. It enriches relationships by deepening empathy, and it strengthens identity by highlighting what feels aligned and meaningful. This long exploration of intuition and insight brings the mind to a place of calm understanding, not complete certainty, not rigid conclusions, but a steady recognition of the processes that guide human thought beneath the surface. The mind becomes quieter, the body feels more grounded, the subtle patterns of internal experience become clearer. Intuition is not a mysterious force. It is a natural expression of the human mind. It is shaped by experience, supported by emotion, and refined by reflection. It guides without demanding attention and speaks without needing words. Insight grows from this foundation, illuminating understanding in ways that feel both gentle and profound. As this reflection settles, there is a sense of simplicity in the conclusion. The mind contains more wisdom than it often acknowledges. The body carries more understanding than it expresses directly. Together, they form a system of guidance that has supported people through every era of human history. This system continues to work quietly, offering direction, clarity, and meaning in the moments when it is needed most. The exploration of intuition and insight does not end with this reflection. It continues in daily life, in every decision, conversation, and quiet moment of awareness. It continues in the body's subtle signals and in the mind's unexpected connections. It continues in creativity, relationships, challenges, and growth. It continues as long as a person remains curious, open, and attentive to the quiet intelligence within themselves. This steady, quiet intelligence is always present. It shapes understanding. It guides choices. It brings the mind into deeper connection with the world and with itself. And it remains a constant companion, offering insight in the gentle, natural rhythm of human experience.